Now, let's move on to the next step. And this is the thing that I said with your first review, you don't need to get the developers involved. The developer review should be a big meeting all by itself. And I'll let you know the reason why now. You should not get the developers involved until you have something that is concrete, well thought out, and ready to go. And the reason for this is if you waste an engineer's time, they're simply going to waste yours back. And we don't want to waste engineers' time. Marketers can be great people, but a lot of us are really, really stupid. And the reason why is because we don't pay attention to what other people need. We focus on ourselves. Engineers will do the same thing. They only care about themselves half the time. We have to understand, that's just human nature. We all want to focus on ourselves. Even I do it. Now, the thing that we want to make sure of is that we prepare this nice and pretty document so when we get to that developer, they feel like we're actually doing something for them. We should not be making this about us. We should be making this about the entire company. Don't make them pull their hair out, okay? Try to be easy with them. Go into this with a box of donuts and some coffee. Make sure everybody in the office is excited. I don't care if you have to buy them a Star Wars coffee mug to make them happy. Make sure your engineering team is pumped up and ready to go. Because if you piss them off, your spec is just going to get ruined. The more that you do wrong to the developer, the more they're going to do wrong to you. And I work with a bunch of developers, and they say the same thing. When our clients piss them off by doing a shitty job, they get frustrated and don't want to do a good job. Now, because I'm their boss, they still do a good job, but imagine what that's like to be somebody on your team. Do you like it when engineering tells you no, they're not going to do something? Well, make sure that you do everything right so that way they understand it. Now, let's keep moving on. Come with your clean spec. Do your internal review with yourself, your CEO, your CMO, I don't care. Do a review with your team. Clean everything up, make everything pretty, get everything set up, and then come to the developers with a clean spec. Don't have it all messed up with typos. Don't have everything all over the place. It's going to be a bad idea. Make sure it's nice and clean. Now, when you do this, be prepared to explain yourself. The number one thing that I see happen when doing this is people get defensive. They're going to be asked, why do you want to track registrations on that page? And then the marketer gets defensive like it's obvious. Well, technically it's not. Most of the time when you're being asked the questions by the engineering or products folks, they're simply just trying to better understand. They're not trying to tell you you're wrong. Sometimes they are. You probably are sometimes too. But usually it's just they're trying to understand the way that you mean this. An engineer thinks a lot different than a marketer. That's the reason why we're in different departments. We should work more together and we might understand each other a little better, but that's not how it always works. So when you get asked questions, do not get defensive. Take the time, explain your thought. If somebody doesn't agree with you, that's okay. But the first time that you get aggressive or defensive, you're going to shut everybody down in the room. It's really, really important. Now, what you need to do is also understand that you're going to need to compromise. I want to track things all the time, but simply due to the way that an application is architected, I'm not able to get to that code, or I'm not able to get to the data layer, or I'm not able to reach the database at that time. You need to compromise and understand that there will be workarounds. There will be ways to fix these problems. But in your first iteration, you want to make it as easy as possible, and it's better off if you just say, listen, I'm not that worried about it. Let's keep moving on. Let's get the first sprint done. Now, you need to remember, engineering does not hate you. They just do not work for you. At the end of the day, they work for the CEO. So if your CEO is on board or your head of engineering is on board, hey, you're doing a lot better. But the engineer is not your employee, and they do not do whatever you say. Now, if you have an engineer on your team, great, amazing. But still be considerate and understand that they are people. They're not just people that write code. Now, last thing is, when you're told no, find a workaround. If I'm being told no, I can't track this, I immediately try to find a workaround. If you need help finding workarounds, please feel free to reach out to me. Dominic will get you in touch with me really quickly. I've had to work on thousands, if not teens of thousands of workarounds for analytics, for marketing stacks, all kinds of stuff. There's always a way to get access to the data. It might take me 6 Zapiers and emailparser.com and potentially Dropbox hooked up through IFT over to my Nest to get the data. I'll get that data. Just reach out. I'll help you get the workaround. If your engineers can't do it, just let me know. Now, of course, after you do this review, revise your spec. Okay? You want to make sure that your spec is always reflecting what you've completed in these meetings. Now, a lot of times we leave comments, we leave notes, we do a lot of review of these specs before we're ever implementing. At our company, we typically work on the spec for 2 to 3 months before we ever write any code. This may sound like a long time, but if I mess up your data, your business is going to be messed up. Do you want me to rush it and make mistakes? Do you want to have bad data? Doesn't really make any sense, right? We're here to be a business and make money. If I don't have the right metrics, then I'm not going to make money. So take your time. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. You got to take your time, make sure you get it done right, and make sure the spec is clean. If things are wrong, it's going to be a problem. Now, I understand not everybody's going to have access to developers like me or have access to a ton of developers like many other startups. So I want to make sure that you know how to cheat. And this is really, really cool because I like to cheat and be able to get things done faster than actually having to take the path all the way through, right? Quickest way to success is the way I'm going to go. Now, I want you to be able to get shit done on your own. This is a big thing about me. I'm an agile marketer, and I should never be held up by somebody else. So I always design every marketing stack so I can do everything, and I'm not waiting on a developer. There's two ways to do this. You have KISS which is really, really good, and then you have Tag Manager. I will always recommend you to have a tag manager on your site. It enables you to add JavaScripts really, really easily. It enables you to plug in JavaScripts without even doing anything. You can set up event tracking. If you can even copy and paste some JavaScript from KISS site or Mixpanel site, you can now install it on your site and actually track some stuff. Never even have to get a developer. So check out Tag Manager. Maybe take a course on Udemy on how to write JavaScript. Be really easy. Now, for the sake of being simple, I'm going to talk about KISS in this example because they have a really interesting backend that enables you to be able to build funnels without ever using a developer. Now, one thing I need to stress, KISS was an analytics platform built for marketers by marketers. Neil Patel and Heaton Shaw, hands down, some of the best marketers out there. They built this platform specifically to solve their marketing problems. Other platforms like Mixpanel were built for product people. Platforms like Whoopra were built for e-commerce idiots. These platforms are different. KISS a little bit better when allowing a marketer to go in and track their own stuff. So let's talk about this. You can build a funnel without a developer. Now, if you sign up to a KISS account, they're all paid plans. Reach out to their support. Tell them that you're a small company. Be like, yo, I'm a small fry. I want to test out the platform. We're going to get funding in 6 months. Just tell them whatever it takes, and they'll give you a freemium account. Now, KISS makes this dead simple in the fact that they have a WYSIWYG editor on their back end that enables it so you can create your own events. Now, what we'll see here is we have our new event. We have when a person visits a page, which is going to be the thank you page, I want them to get an event called purchased. Now, this makes it so that whenever somebody hits that page, you see a purchased event. You would be able to see this in a funnel. Now, what I want to advise you of, if somebody hit refresh on that purchase page, you're going to see that event come through multiple times. Well, if you're just using a funnel, it doesn't really matter. Now, you will see your purchase metrics thrown off a little bit. KISS does have some workarounds for that, so definitely let me know if you have problems. But this basically makes it so you can track viewed homepage, click sign up button, registered, and then purchase without ever having to get a developer. They enable you to do this on pages, on forms, and as well as on button clicks. So super, super simple. Now, what this is going to enable you to do is build a funnel in about 5 minutes. In this one here, what I'm showing you is a funnel which is totally built by using the WYSIWYG editor and then as well as running an A/B test. So what we'll see is we have viewed homepage, which is tracked just by the page being loaded, viewed the sign up page, and then lastly, when they click the sign up button, we send the sign up event because that's how they did it. I didn't need a developer at all. Now, another cool thing is if you're doing A/B testing using Optimizely, it's already integrated with KISS. Once again, no developer. All you got to do is add the Optimizely script, turn the KISS integration on, and you're already tracking your A/B tests in KISS. Now, one little bonus I'm going to give everybody. If you're measuring your A/B test in your A/B testing tool, you're doing it wrong. Do not depend on Optimizely, VWO, ConvertKit, any of those things to tell you the successfulness of your A/B tests. The reason why is because you're only looking at that in a one-dimensional manner. You should be measuring all of these tests in your analytics tools and looking at them in a clean funnel. So for an example, we can see that we were testing the button create a free account versus the button that says get started. What is interesting is when we looked at this in our A/B testing tool, we saw the conversion rate for create a free account actually won getting people from the home page to the sign-up page. Well, that was the metric that we were measuring in our testing tool because that was the page we were testing. For some stupid reason, we weren't measuring sign up, right? But if we looked at the metric get started, it may have had less people that actually converted to the sign-up page. But if we look at the number of people who converted to actually signing up, the metric is dramatically different, right? So you want to make sure that you look at this stuff in a funnel so you can see how these people act over multiple steps of the funnel, not just the two metrics that you have in Optimizely or VWO. Use a funnel report to measure it, and this is a quick way that you can do it using KISS without ever getting a developer involved.